Hello, everyone, and welcome to the June edition of the WinUI Community Call. My name is Gabby, and I'll be your host for this morning, afternoon, or evening. So about the Community Call, it takes place on the third Wednesday of every month at 1600 UTC, which is 9 a.m. Pacific. Our next call is scheduled to be on July 20th. If you'd like to reach out to us on GitHub, check out Microsoft UI Xaml or Windows App SDK, and Twitter, check out @WindowsUI. So check out this slide if you are new to the call, new to WinUI, and want to check out what WinUI 3, WinUI 2, and Windows App SDK are after the recording. But today we've got a packed agenda. First up, we will be spotlighting Power Toys, one of our close team members. We'll also take a look at the Uwp Migration Tool for UWP apps to WinUI 3 and Windows App SDK apps. And I've also got latest news to share about Windows App SDK, WinUI releases, and just some general info. And then as always, we'll end with live Q&A. Perfect. So let's add some more folks to the stream. Awesome. Hello, Power Toys team. How are you this morning?
Hello, doing great.
Hello.
Hello, hello, hello.
Oh, fantastic. Great to see you all. So I'll empower Toys, and Clint, I'll let you take it away.
Hi, so for those who don't know what Power Toys is, it's a set of utilities for power users, developers, and it allows you to basically customize your experience with Windows to do things that basically help make you more productive. And we say that because it's like we have a very, very advanced snapping engine for window management. We have PowerToys Run, which helps you quickly do app launching, bulk file renaming, a color picker. The list goes on and on for the utilities that we have built in. And best of all, it's an open source project on Microsoft. It's Microsoft/PowerToys on GitHub. And the reason why we're here is we have an insane amount of UI technologies that either are currently there or have been inside of PowerToys. So I kind of crack the joke occasionally. We are every app and a unique app at the same time because we use things like ComCuddle, Windows Forms, WPF. We had a web browser, a web view. WebView 2 now is what we switched over to. We've had system XAML islands with WinUI and UWP. We currently have WinUI 3 elements in our application. WinUp SDK 1.1. So every major item that you can imagine, we've experienced that pain and or that framework to try to get it to work as a holistic entity and get it to look modern and work across Windows 11, Windows 10, and so on and so forth. It's a very complex solution also. I think right now, the main solution itself is 113. We have a couple of additional utilities are built and the installer as well. So it touches a lot of stuff. We adopt what's called kind of a hub and spoke model. So we have our main runner app and our settings app kind of fits in there as well. And everything else is outside of that. So everything can run as an independent executable, but everything then is also aware back into the hub of it. So Gabby, can we go to the next slide, please? So a couple of the things that PowerToys embraces is it's a good test bed for new ideas as well as new technologies. So we always try to adopt the newest things and stress them and make sure that they're good for everyone. One of the tenets that we've been trying to do over probably Jaime and Stefan, keep me honest here, I'd say 6 months, was do the slow migration so we could support ARM64. And the reason why we adopted a methodical approach here rather than do it in one big splash is to get where we needed to go is lots of different moving parts. So we had to first see, do we have any .NET framework elements? Because one of the things we did want to do is modernize our entire .NET side of the code base to be .NET 6, or so then we could adopt things like .NET 7 in the future, and just push forward there. Stefan and Jaime will talk more about that. But supporting ARM64 was one of our big tenets. And then by using the latest controls, and it lets us solve accessibility issues, and which is super important to us as well as both a company and as a team. So I'm partially deaf on my left side, so I actually do have a disability. So just like all these little things help the entire world as well. So by adopting WinUI and WinUp SDK, it helps solve a lot of accessibility issues that were on our backlog as well. So I'm going to hand it off to Jaime because I believe that you have the next slide.
So here we'll start with a little demo first to showcase what PowerToys looks like and some of the more popular utilities. So I'll start by showing, as Clint said, we have quite a big number of projects between common utilities, then all the PowerToys we have. Besides that, we have tests as well that we try to run to keep issues to a minimum. And this is about it. So I'll start by showing the settings screen, where you can see the PowerToys that are available. We've got, for example, always on top, which tries to set windows to be always on top, color picker to try and pick some colors. But you can see an overview of all these PowerToys here in the Welcome PowerToy screen and go into them. So one of the most popular ones is Fancy Zones, I'd say, which is an utility that allows you to tile screens on your screen so that you can drag and put windows in the zones. Let's say, for example, I have this one. I can change it to another zone. I can also switch between the zones, overriding the Windows plus arrow keys behavior. Now, instead of going to the side of the screen, it just cycles through the zones. I can also make it occupy, let's say, more than one zone with the shift control, like this. And this is highly customizable. We can launch the editor and change the layout. We have many types of layouts and allow creating custom layouts as well. Another of the most popular Power Toys is the Power Toys Run, which is sort of an enhanced search where you can do things like some quick calculations, then copy to clipboard. We have, for example, the ability to convert unities. Let's say 10 feet to meters. How much is it? We also have, these are the global results. Then we have action keys to actually look for other stuff. Let's say I want to search for something in the registry. I'm able to walk through the keys. Another example, I'd like to start a Notepad app. It's normal, right? But then let's say I lose this window. I don't know where it is. I want to look for it. Let's say search for Untitled in Notepad. Oh, sorry. And it will show. We'll bring it right to the foreground. Other examples is direct access to the services. You can see, and then we can open the services menu from here as well. We also receive lots of community contributions for new plugins. One of these examples would be the time, to show the current time. And so on. We have many more plugins, as we can probably see here. I'll now showcase another Power Toy here, which is important because this is the setting screen that I just showed is using WinUI 3 right now. And so is Power Rename, which is an utility that allows you to batch rename files. Let's say someone just created, we open this again. So someone just copied the file lots of times, for example, instead of using version control and setting backups, but left them with their default names. So something we can do is change them in batch. Let's say change them to have, instead of copy, just the date of creation of the file. This is one helpful way to create this mess. This is used in many other things, like, for example, batch renaming images and, well, just file names in general. So this is the end of my demo, just to showcase. And we can go to the next slide. All right. So the setting screen that I showed at first, when we, at the beginning of Power Toys, we used the web view running on Edge at the time, rendering a React JS interface with fluent controls. At the time, we wanted settings to be a Win32 application in order to communicate with the rest of the Power Toys, which were based mostly at the time in C++. So at the time, we analyzed and thought the best way to have a modern looking UI would be just to go with a web view and using JavaScript to render it. But we ended up having some issues, like the controls weren't flexible enough. It was hard to go from the UI then to the back end and to control the Power Toys. And it also had some issues at the time, like it wouldn't render sometimes on some systems when it was trying to run with administrative privileges, which you need, for example, to set Power Toys to run as administrator or to make it appear when you log into Windows. So we've decided to upgrade at the time to C# using WinUI 2 and some islands, and then later on the transition to WinUI 3. This allowed us to have more flexible controls. It looks much better. As you can see, it sped up development, and we ended up having less runtime issues and some better support for running with administrative privileges. On the next slide, I'll talk about Power Rename. We also did a sort of UI upgrade here, starting from
I'm really quick on settings. We are now on WinApp SDK 1.1, and then it is on WinUI 3 now.
Yes, now it's on
so
WinUI 3. So for Power Rename, we started, it actually came from the community. It was an open source project that we integrated into PowerToys. So it started as a Win32 application using COM controls, sort of outdated UI, and we ended up finding that this made it very difficult to fix accessibility issues. In some cases, it was just not possible at all using some of those controls. So we ended up being able to fix those and get a more modern look and feel by upgrading it to C++ on Xaml islands as well. In this case, it was WinUI 2, and now it's already been ported to WinUI 3 on the Windows App SDK runtime. So on the next slide, we'll talk a bit about the journey to ARM64. So as Clint said before, this was a very long journey. Since we started from a path where we were using some islands on settings, this depended on .NET Core 3, which does not ship runtime for ARM64, for desktop applications running on ARM64. So we knew that Windows App SDK was having a release soon enough in a couple of months. So we started porting PowerToys, and we received lots of help from the community to this. So we started by removing every dependency we have by .NET Core 3, and we upgraded it to .NET Framework 5, and then to .NET 6. It was the idea. So after that, we started adding ARM64 configurations to build and test the over 100 projects that we had. And I'd like to thank here the Jeremy Sinclair. I see he's on the YouTube chat. So thanks a lot. You really ended up pioneering and helping to wrap out most of this work. So thanks a lot, Jeremy. So after that, what we did was rework the settings application to use an elevated proxy instead, because when it released, Windows App SDK 1.0 didn't quite allow us to run in an elevated matter, which we needed for some functions. So we ended up getting a workaround for that, but that's been fixed now on Windows App SDK 1.1, and that's great if we want to go back to running settings as with administrative privileges. And after that, porting the application, we ended up releasing it ahead of time in hope to then upgrade it to 1.1. All right, I'll now pass to Stefan to talk a bit about how it was to implement the WinUI report.
Thank you, James. So here I'll go through the steps of moving our settings app and Power Rename app to WinApp SDK unpackaged apps. So as usual, when app needs to be moved to some new technology, you start with simple and sample app, make sure everything works as it is. After which we started migrating our code piece by piece and our UI user controls and making sure everything still works as expected. Next step was the best one, so the cleanup and removing XAML islands and the XAML island host project and some additional logic that was needed for interaction between that host window and our UI. So on the right side, there's a picture showing a difference in line added in and removed. The numbers are big because we did some renaming and moving stuff around, but the idea is that our code base, after moving from XAML island to WinApp SDK, was notably smaller. Also, we have to do some minor UI tweaks, like moving the UI elements a few pixels here, a few pixels there. Or, for example, we used some UI controls like info badge, which is not yet migrated to WinUI 3. And as Jaime already mentioned, we had to work around elevation limitation, which was a known issue on the WinApp SDK version 1.0. And finally, instead of installing WinUp SDK runtime together with PowerToys, we started shipping with WinUp SDK 1.1. We started shipping our WinUp SDK apps self-contained. So on the next slide is shown what we discovered and learned during this process. First of all, the transition itself, beside what I already mentioned, minor UI tweaks, adopting some new APIs, changed APIs and some namespaces. Most of our code and UI worked out of the box and as expected, but of course there were some known and unknown issues. For example, users have different configurations, different setups, different use cases, and users having UAC disabled also had, because of that, Explorer running elevated, which resulted in everything run by Explorer also running elevated, which when was trying to run our app elevated with Windows App SDK 1.0 didn't work. Also, some of the users had issues while trying to install WinUp SDK and the ARM64 WinUp SDK binaries, such as some permission issues in corporate environments, or installation by system account didn't work, which we solved once again by mentioned shipping our app self-contained. Okay, now we can move to the next slide and back to Clint.
So yeah, I think the key thing here is like we're trying to show best practices, show how to do certain things in the open, and then show everyone how you can do these migrations. So one thing we will be doing in the near future is creating some blog entries for how we did some of the in-depth migrations, and then things that we learned along the way to make sure that everyone has a great experience on if they do choose to upgrade and move forward, and show how to do it. Next is we're going to be building out a couple new PowerToys utilities, such as environment path variable updating tool, screen measurement tool, along with just general new features and utilities inside of PowerToys. Great thing is today we will be releasing a 0.59.1 release, which will have at least one critical bug that everyone's been talking about with virtual desktops and fancy zones bug that people were reporting. So thank you so much. Along with it does upgrade to WinApp SDK 1.1.1. And then we'll continue testing and adopting new technologies at Microsoft. So Gabby and the WinUI team, thank you so much for having us, and we'll keep on answering questions in the chat.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks so much. Yeah, thanks
Thank you
for joining. It was great to hear your migration story. And then speaking of migration, we'll be joined by Bhavya to talk about the tool. So thanks all. Let's see. Hello, Bhavya. So I forgot to have PowerToys team do a little introduction, but do you want to introduce yourself?
So yes, my name is Bhavya, and I'm super excited to be here. This is my first WinUI community call. I hope you all can hear me properly.
Yep, all's good. Perfect. Take it away.
Awesome. So I'm here to talk about the Uwp Migration Tooling and give you a short demo for the same. So as the name suggests, this is an automation tool that helps developers move their UWP apps to WinUI 3 desktop apps with Windows App SDK capability. So the goal of the project is to automate this migration journey as much as possible. So this is a command line tool that leverages the already existing .NET Upgrade Assistant and will live as an extension in the same GitHub repo. So if you're familiar with the .NET Upgrade Assistant, this is going to be super easy for you. Before we begin, this tool currently supports C# and in most cases will require additional effort to complete the migration. To get the tool, you can go to the aka.ms link here, aka.ms/UWP Upgrade Assistant. And also you can see some docs which talk about how to use the tool and what to expect from it on aka.ms/UWP Upgrade Assistant docs. let me start sharing my screen and give you a demo real quick. Can we?
Yep. So I'll start sharing your screen once it's ready.
Yep.
Perfect.
Gabby,
Looks good.
awesome. So for the demo, we have this UWP sample app called Photolab. Photolab is an app for viewing and editing images. It demonstrates the XAML layout, data binding, and UI customization features. First of all, you can see I've opened up a UWP app. It has this long CS proj with a lot of details. And I think I can quickly run this app to show it to you. Yes, so it's a photo viewing app. You can zoom, edit, and do a lot of stuff with it. So now I'm going to open up the command line and run the tool. So I've already have the tool installed. So I just need to run an upgrade command. So it starts loading its files. It tells you that it's starting up. It identifies the project that it wants to migrate. So, and I'll talk to you about what it does. The UWP migration tool will make the following changes to this app step by step. It backs up your project. It converts project file to the SDK style. It cleans up NuGet package references for you. It updates the target framework and updates the NuGet packages as well. It adds template files and publish profiles for your new WinUI 3 project. It updates project properties in CS proj, makes namespace changes, adds main page navigation. It also makes app-specific code migration. And for this particular app, Photolab, it changes the content dialog API and the file safe picker APIs. It updates the animations package. It implements a back button functionality, which is not available in WinUI 3 projects. And yep, so this tool does take a few minutes, more than 2 or 3 minutes to run the tool successfully. And in the interest of time, I already have the migrated app to show it to you. So as you can see here, the CS proj, this is the converted app, a packaged app. It already has the target framework as net 6. It has packaged references, which includes Windows App SDK as well, and all the WinUI 3 capabilities. Let me go to the detail page, and you can see that it has changed namespaces from Windows to Microsoft as well. Now I'll go to the detail page. Yep. Also, one more thing here to see is that if you go to view and click on task list, you can see all your to-do comments. So it tells you what are your next steps to successfully migrate this app and run it. For example, here, one of the to-do steps is that the default back button in the title bar does not exist in WinUI 3 apps. So when I go to this to-do comment, it tells me if I can, it already introduces a back button for me, but it's on me if I want to, place it somewhere else. For example, I'll just remove it here and put it in the stack panel. It totally depends where do I want to shift it to. Also, you can see that there's a docs link here, which will help you if you want to know more about any of the comments, any of the to-do comments, you can do so by going to this link. I'll press the play button now and just quickly show you what the migrated app looks like. Yeah. It's taking a second. Okay. Yep, it's completing. Awesome. So this is the WinUI desktop now, and it's a fully migrated app. And it has automated most of the work for you. Now I'll talk about the next steps and stop sharing my screen. Just a second. Okay. So first things first, tool is available for open source collaboration. My first request to all of you would be, please try the tool and provide your feedback on the .NET GitHub repo. Your engagement and feedback will help us make this project even better. Currently, we've started working on the next release, which will include support for new things. It is tentatively, we'll release it in August 22. The preview release is already there for you to try out. And the next step for me is to identify unique UWP apps within the community and run the tool on them to make it better. So reach out to me on my email ID if you have UWP apps, and you can suggest me that what should I try next. So that was all for the Uwp migration tooling, and I'm looking forward for all your feedback.
Awesome. Thanks, Bhavya. I also noticed in the migration that it went from, I think, pre-Windows 11 WinUI stylings to Windows 11 WinUI stylings. So that was really cool. It did it automatically. Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Gabby. Bye-bye.
Let's see. All right. Thanks, Bhavya. So we've got some news for WinUI and Windows App SDK. So we've had some recent servicing releases. I wanted to highlight a few of the community filed issues for those. Give some updates on the Windows App SDK servicing cadence. Generally updating around the releases that are coming up, as well talk a little bit about WinUI 2.8, as well as some updates in WinUI Microsoft Docs that a few of you have been reaching out about. So we'll start with the servicing releases. So yesterday we came out with 1.0.4 and 1.1.1. And so I wanted to highlight some of the issues that you all filed. So thank you so much for finding those, making great bug reports. So then we can go in and fix them. And there's also a few from 1.1.0 that we covered, both windowing and then some various drag and drop ones. So around drag and drop, I'm going to take a pause on that subject. I see some comments about it in chat. And during the Q&A, we'll bring we'll bring Bob on to talk a bit about those and how we debug and go through them. Let's see. So next, a little bit about the Windows App SDK servicing cadence. So we're really trying to get into a monthly rhythm here. We're targeting the second Tuesday of the month. Targeting is the word we'll use here. So right now, we're planning on servicing 1.1, 1.0, and 0.8. So 0.8 is the highest bar for the fixes that we'll be taking. But we're committing that if we take a fix in a lower version, all the versions newer than that will also receive that fix. So, fixes in 0.8, 0.11 are also going to be in 0.5 or 1.0.5 and 1.1.2, for example. I also wanted to note that we're going to do an extra 1.1.x release, the servicing release. So 1.1.2, we're planning on releasing that on June 28th. So in about 2 weeks, to address some of the early feedback we received post 1.1. So thank you for filing those. And we want to get another servicing in before next July. So the next patch Tuesday in July. So it's kind of a visualization on this and also upcoming releases in general. So like I said, 1.1.2 coming, at the end of June, and then 1.0.5, which is the next 1.0 release, along with 1.1.3, which would be the next 1.1 servicing release, would be in early July. After this slide, I'll talk a little bit about 2.8, but we're targeting to release that in about 2 months, give or take. We're estimating that. And then we're starting down the road towards Windows App SDK 1.2. So we're planning on releasing some previews starting late summer or so. And before the end of the year, we want to release a stable version of Windows App SDK 1.2. At this call, we're not quite ready to share what our feature list is going to be, and I'm going to be looking for Ryan to come and join us in July to give us the full detailed list on what features we're planning on including in Windows App SDK 1.2. And I just want to know, I didn't note all of the different servicing releases that we have here, but like I said, that monthly cadence, we're striving to reach that. So like I mentioned, WinUI 2.8, planning to include WebView 2 as well as bug fixes all across the platform. We've been releasing a few preview releases of this as time has gone on. The most recent was in early June, but since September 2021, we've been releasing some previews that have several WinUI 2.x bug fixes in them. But I'll say that after 2.8, we don't have current plans for WinUI 2.9, and we're going to be shifting our focus towards WinUI 3 and Windows App SDK. I wanted to also give an update about the WinUI docs. So as you might have seen recently, we've decoupled the WinUI 2 and 3 docs apart from each other, as well as keeping them apart from UWP. So previously, we had WinUI 2 and Windows App SDK WinUI 3 documentation all in the Windows WinUI API path. And now we're split them to make it a bit easier to find the right documentation for the right version of WinUI that you're using. So WinUI 3, the path for that is now docs.microsoft.com/windows/Windows App SDK/API/WinRT, and then the page. So if you have bookmarks, you can manually update those, but we're also doing a lot of work across the docs platform to make this a little bit more automatic and fix some of our broken links that we have. So stay tuned on that. We're working through those, and we hear you. Let's see. And with that, we are ready for Q&A. So I'm going to go ahead, stop the slides, and get everyone on. Let's see. I think we have room for everyone today. All right, so I'd like to take it away.
All right. Good morning, everyone. There are tons of questions in chat, and there's a lot on GitHub too. I see several on the migration tool. Bhavya, do you feel up to answering a few?
Yep. So I think the first question.
Oh,
go on.
If you have one in mind, let's go for it. Just make sure to repeat the question out loud for everyone here.
Sure. So the first question was, if I have a NuGet package that supports UWP and a different NuGet package that supports WinUI, can I submit a change to the upgrade assistant so it knows to swap the UWP package with the new WinUI package? So yes, please submit your feedback on the GitHub repo .NET/upgrade assistant. And I think the next question was, are there plans for the migration tool to change Xaml too? Yes, it tries to do the Xaml change as well. If it cannot do that, it'll detect that there's a need for manual migration step, and it'll add it to do command. Still, the tool is in the preview release, and it has a long way to go before it can help you completely automate your migration journey. What about the plan for C++ and C# migration support? We haven't started that yet, and we need to plan that. Is there any other question that I'm missing?
Those are the only ones I saw so far, but thanks, Bob. Yeah, I'll be sure to come back to you if I see any more in chat.
Sure.
All right, let's jump to a few on GitHub here. There's quite a few. Let's throw some to Mike. Mike, I see you have quite a few here. MEK3DK is asking for an update on XAML Islands development, if we can share that.
I think Gabby said we're going to be trying to talk in more details about our plans in July, but we're spending a lot of time working on islands. XAML islands in WinUI 2 are great. They let you drop some XAML into a non-WinUI app. There's a lot of it that is difficult as well. Example I look at is there's a how-to page in the docs that talks about how to put a XAML island to a WPF app or WinForms app, and there's a lot of steps to it. So we are working to bring XAML islands to WinUI 3. We're hoping to make it a lot easier to use. We're trying to strike a balance, so we don't want to delay it in order to make everything perfect. But the priority is fixing things that we can only fix early without causing breaking changes. So it's where a lot of our focus is right now. Just some examples. One of the things that's difficult today in XAML islands is that even though you're an island in some other app, you're still using a XAML application object, and there's some complications with that. There's some complications with lifetime of the island, and so that's one of the things that we're spending time on now, is coming up with some new design there. One of the limitations we have in XAML islands today is flyouts can't be windowed. That's something that we're working on actively right now. So we're making progress, but we don't have a date yet. The other thing to mention about it is that in WinUI 3, so in WinUI 3 we have 3 release channels: experimental, preview, and stable. The experimental channel has experimental APIs that aren't ready to be in the stable release yet. Last time we did an experimental was last August, and XAML Islands is in the experimental channel. We're planning to do another experimental release in the next month. So that won't have all the things we're going to do at Islands, but that'll have a refreshed implementation of the Islands API.
Awesome. All right. Well, here's a question for you and Scott both. Andrew Keep Coding is asking, why can't we publish our apps as single .exe file? Is there any fix in 1.2?
I saw this on the repo and I took a look at it. I wasn't able to repro. I just have to be careful about repo and repro. Wasn't able to repro the problem, but there was a reply to it, and Raphael had a link to a few other examples too. So there's more repro instructions in the issue, and I need to spend some more time looking at it. What I'm seeing the issue is that it's a crash, and it looks like it's a crash happening in WinUI somewhere. If possible, there are instructions in the docs on how to get a call stack. I mean, the first thing I want to do is get a repro so I can see a call stack, and then we can have more of a clue. There are instructions on in the docs about how to capture a call stack, so or actually how to capture a full dump. Sometimes, frequently, that's a lot more helpful than just the final call stack. So if you're comfortable with that, then that would be a big help. It'd save us some time.
Awesome. Thanks, Mike. I'll jump over to Bob for a moment here. Bob, Wim is asking, thank you for trying to fix drag and drop issues with WinApp SDK 1.1.1. Unfortunately, there's an issue left that appeared in 1.1.0 and is still present. When dragging a file onto the app still crashes. Could you please look again? This scenario seems to have been missed.
So first of all, to Wim, to Arthur Cater, to Terry, thank you for all of your help on this. As Mike just mentioned, getting a crash dump is hugely helpful. And what we found is there's not a single drag and drop issue. There have been a handful of them. And this has been sort of an onion peeling exercise where we fix one and it gets to the next one. And a lot of them are timing issue and lifetime issues between WinRT and WinUI itself. So between 1.1.0 and 1.1.1, we fixed at least 3 new items that had come up, but we haven't gotten them all. And so I would ask, going through, all of you have been very active on GitHub, and if you can post crash dumps on that. It is hugely helpful. There's a document, and Gabby, if you can post that. Yep, there we go. So in the chat on how to get a crash dump, and that will help us get to those issues. We want to have more of those fixes in that upcoming 1.1.2 release and get that out. And it's exactly those kinds of things that we want to fix in that release 2 weeks from now. So again, thank you for all of your help. Any crash dumps that you can get will greatly help. One other place that I would mention is in the WinUI gallery. One place that we've been testing drag and drop issues is on the grid view page. And at the bottom, you can check the items for is item click enabled, can drag items, can reorder items, and allow drop. And going through, and I did 100 drag and drops on that with no issue at all. So at least there's one area that we have gotten the issues cleared out. But submit those crash dumps and we will continue to address those and get those taken care of. The other item I wanted to mention that I saw in the chat were how many different pipelines are you supporting? And I see fixes to 1.1, to 1.0, to 0.8. Why are you doing all that? And can't you put all of your resources on 1.1? And one of the reasons for that is we do have partners that are still on 0.8 and 1.0, and we're actively working to get them migrated up to 1.1, but we have blocking issues. The bar for getting a fix in the lower levels is significantly higher than getting it into 1.1, and we strongly encourage everyone to get on 1.1 as quickly as possible because they will have all of the bug fixes that we do, but we do have a small set of issues that go backwards to the earlier issues, and we do need to get those going. So I believe that captures, and I will continue looking in the chat and addressing any of those questions. And as always, file the issues on GitHub, and we are continuing to look at that.
Awesome. Thanks a ton, Bob. All right, let me jump over to some questions for Mike again. Mike, on GitHub, Void Exploiter is asking, per my knowledge, user control within data template. Wait, let me try this.
I can summarize. I can see it. I can summarize. It's a question about using a user control within a data template and a perf problem in WPF that's fixed in UWP. And will it be the same in WinUp SDK? So first of all, generally, the WinUp SDK code, the WinUI 3 code, we lifted it out of the OS. It's the same code as UWP. So most things are the same. I don't know about this in particular. The issue here was that it says in WPF, initialized component gets called in every data template. I don't know for sure about the issue there. The one thing I can think of is in list box in WPF, it's not, I think it does not by default recycle items. And so if you have, if you scroll through 1,000 items, your user control will get initialized component 1,000 times. Recycling changes that so that the items are reused. The data changes, but the item container, the UI, gets reused. So I think that is something that you can turn on in WPF, and it's on by default in WinUI. And so the short answer is yes, you should get the same good thing in WinUp SDK that you're getting in the UWP.
Awesome, thanks, Mike. I have another one here for you. Andrew Keep Coding is asking, is there or will there be a way to edit localized strings without compiling? For example, let users improve translations for their own use case after the app is deployed and published.
The localization is, it's all load time. Like the standard way to do localization is localize strings, is put your strings into resources to res W resources, MRT. And then those are all, I don't think those are dynamic. I think those are all static. So, and those are all, there's a XAML markup feature with X1 UID for merging those in as the markup is being loaded. That's all static. If you wanted to do something dynamic, I I mean, I would just use data binding. Have some, like in this case of user providing, sounds like a custom dictionary, a custom localization. I would just use some kind of a store for that, and then use data binding to bind in the strings rather than localization to merge in the string parse.
Awesome. Thanks, Mike. Gabby, a question for you here, also from Void Exploiter. Have we stopped updating the product portal for the roadmap?
Yeah, so we're working through that on, hey, what's the best way to take in the feedback, using that tool and using that with GitHub effectively. So I'm expecting that at our next call, we'll be able to share a little bit more about what our plans are with product board and continued use of it. So it's definitely on our radar, and we'll share more at the next call.
Awesome. Thanks, Gabby. Scott, a question for you from the live call today. Terry's asking, when will bug 5221 app unhandled exception doesn't catch exceptions from other threads be addressed?
Right. Yeah, I wanted to address this issue, and I first wanted to say thank you all for your patience. This has been a painful issue that's been longstanding, and I know Terry's asked about it, Artur has asked about it, many folks have asked about it. There are a number of related issues here: 5221, 6304, 6153, 7160. Hopefully one of your favorite numbers is in that list, and there's more than that. And the issue is that with the move to C# WinRT, the new projection technology, we are no longer wrapping calls to user event handlers with a try catch, which is what the built-in WinRT support in C# used to do. And that built-in support would catch exceptions and then post them back to the core dispatcher synchronization context, where they would then be dispatched to and end up with a call to row report unhandled error, which would result in a good debug experience and useful crash dumps and so on. So the issues are being actively investigated. I just this morning assigned all those numbers that I just mentioned to myself. The bad news is I'm leaving for a few weeks shortly, so I don't know when I'm going to be able to turn a fix around, but thanks for your patience. These are being actively investigated. We understand root cause, and we should be able to address all of these.
Awesome. Bob and Gabby, a question for you from Terry, who would appreciate an update on the issue backlog situation.
That's definitely a top of mind. That in looking at the Xaml repo, there are 2,700 issues, and we definitely built up a backlog there. We're having discussions on how to go through and address those, prioritizing that list, but also going through, finding the signal in there and really trying to get to the top level issues, but also making sure that we're setting expectations that we're not going to fix all 2,700 issues, but we want to find a way to escalate the items that should properly be escalated and really get to the most important issues on that. We are going through and coming up with a way to address that, and we'll have more on that in July on exactly how we plan on doing that. But it is top of mind, and we are looking at a way to get that number reduced and get the top issues in that addressed at the front of the line. And
Yeah.
Gabby, if you want to add anything to that.
Yeah, I think you covered that really, really well about the backlog. I just wanted to make a note about this incoming triage is that we're incoming issues trying to reduce that backlog. We're definitely taking a look at all those. So I'm hoping that you're able to see that and we take a look and assign it to different teams. Especially, we really appreciate when you're taking a look at our preview releases, filing bugs on that to get our stables in to improve the quality for our stable releases. That was awesome. Thank you.
Awesome. Gabby, your mic is a little crackly again, so I'll move away from you for a moment to give you a chance to take a look at that. This was an interesting question here. Not sure who might be able to take this. We had someone on the call asking, I all of a sudden can't see their name for a moment. Is there an estimate on when WinUI 3 controls can be instantiated from outside app package? Mike, would this maybe be you?
Yeah, I've looked at it a little bit. Is there? I think the direct answer is no. There's not an estimate. It's not something that the scenario. So the problem is, I think of it as the plugin scenario. So you've got an app that's up and running, and you're trying to load a control at runtime dynamically. So not something that you were referencing at build time. So it's not something that we've spent any time on. Sorry, I take it back. We have spent a little bit of time on it because the issues opened up a while ago, and we've looked at it a bit. I've looked at it a little bit, and Tommy's looked at it a little bit with trying to come up with some ideas. But in terms of tackling it as a scenario, it's still in the future. I'm so hopeful that we can find a way to make it work through the investigation that we're having on that, the debugging that we've been having on the issue.
Awesome. Thanks, Mike. Let me toss a few questions to our friends on PowerToys here for a moment. So PowerToys crew, Kevin was asking, does the team end up committing code bug fixes and features into Windows WinUI or the Windows App SDK code bases?
So we help influence the team. So in chat, I kind of joke that the team is right down the hall. So Gabby literally is right that way. So is Mike. We work very, very closely. Actually, we all report under the same structure. So it's very, very helpful to be able to quickly go to someone like Mike and go, Mike, hey, this is what we're hitting. What do you see? How can we help? And then just like I think with the elevation issue that with 1.01 where we realized that there was a setting in Windows that can force everything to be elevated where we thought we were being clever. And then it was like, oh yeah, hey, we do actually truly need 1.1. So it's a very, very great partnership across everyone. And then we do help actually influence stuff inside of Windows as well.
Awesome. All right. And another question for the PowerToys group. Clint, I saw you answered this in chat, but we're talking about live. Do any of the PowerToys UI controls exist in a library that can be used by the WinUI community? If not, are there any plans to do so?
Currently, they do not. I know we've chatted with the community toolkit a little bit, and it is a very always interesting problem of where do you spend your resources. So for PowerToys team, a lot of our controls are pretty targeted because if not, they exist in other places, which is fantastic. There could be potentially 2 controls that we were discussing potentially should be in the community toolkit or built in. The first would be the keyboard shortcut grabber, which is pretty useful if you need this scenario. Once it's kind of a niche scenario. The other one is our out-of-box experience. So we're talking with Terminal on how to do this because they want a very similar experience. But the interesting thing for us as PowerToys is our settings app and our powers the out-of-box experience / the upgrade experience. And that is a C# application. Terminal is a C++ application. So then it would basically make us have to rewrite that entire thing. So it's an interesting question for everyone is how do we best do this? And then is it really a control that makes sense to be that generic as well? So if there is interest, let's have that discussion as well. Whatever we can do to help out.
Awesome. Thanks, Clint. Let's jump to one for Scott here. Scott, this is a question on any update to making it possible to create user controls in separate assemblies.
I think that might be a bit of a dupe of the issue that Mike.
Yeah, I think that's the same one as the plugin.
Right.
Ah, okay.
And I would just tack on that in that issue are several workarounds that are discussed. So in terms of just a loose loading of an assembly, that's not supported yet. But if you're willing to package it up to some degree, which I understand adds a bit of overhead, but it looks like there are some feasible workarounds in the meantime.
Yeah, the workarounds are a little painful, but until we get full proper support for it, I'm hoping that we can find a workaround.
Awesome. Okay, Gabby, a question for you. Hopefully the mic's a little better here. Kevin was asking, any plans to start doing a long-form blog post long-form blog style posts on technical topics again?
Yeah. How do I sound now?
Much better.
Perfect. Okay. Yeah. So long form blog style posts. I think right now I've been thinking of a lot of different ways to create more educational content. So that's working with the docs team, that's creating blog posts, that's potentially videos and demos. How can we leverage these community calls, maybe take out some of the demos or learning sessions that we do as part of these and make them into their standalone content. So long form style blog posts totally on the list, especially like the scope of that are different components in Windows App SDK, as well as WinUI 3 or WinUI 2, different things like that. So definitely, I'm thinking about it. So come if you'd like to, provide suggestions on the repo, tag me in those on, hey, I'm really interested in something about this topic, or I really appreciate this format. I think, Kevin Gallahan, I think I saw your comment in the call for feedback for community call issue a while ago. It was you or somebody else who mentioned the, bringing back long form blog posts and that kind of learning session. So I'm thinking about it. I'm working with folks in the same org that creates the Windows Community Toolkit, and Windows Community Toolkit. We partner closely with them, and they have that org, has already done investigations on, how to best get learning and educational content out to developers. So I've just started working with them and really excited to see where that goes.
Awesome. All right. Well, there are lots of amazing questions still here in chat. It's hard to wrap up, but we're at the top of the hour still, and I want to respect everyone's time. So as always, if you're looking to get a question answered and it's pressing, or you just want it answered, always feel welcome to post on our GitHub repo. We have a special issue format for just questions or discussion topics. Also, we always take all the leftover questions and we'll keep them in our back pocket for next month's call. So if you posted a question, thank you. I hope we got a bunch of them answered that were useful for you. And thanks for everyone who called in to help answer those questions. It was great having you, and we'll see you again next month. I'll turn it over to Gabby to close out the call.
Thanks, Savor. Yeah, I just want to say thanks for those who are joining, both in chat, in the call, and thanks for those on the call itself to come and present, as well as answer questions. It's been a great call, and we will see you next month. So, bye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.